Welcome to the Bitter End's first beer news segment. I'm your host Andrew, and this month we'll be looking at all the news that's been shaking up the craft beer industry. Over the last month, it's been almost every week that a new brewery has been taken over by one of the big players. First, Golden Road was taken over by InBev. Then there was Lagunitas, taken over by Heineken, and Ballast Point is in the process of being bought out by Constellation Beverages. More locally, Mountain Goat is being taken over by the giant Asahi. So what does this all mean? And why is this happening? The half share of Lagunitas sold for $500 million, and it's rumoured that bidders interested in buying Ballast Point only need to fork up a cool $1 billion. These are serious financial exchanges that guarantee a profit. And this is important in the craft beer market when it's becoming more and more saturated and harder to compete within. But what about for the consumers? Well, there's this perspective.
You know that Mountain Goat is made by Asahi now, mate.
Ugh! Never drinking that again. Corporate mega swill. I'm sure you've heard someone say something along those lines. But save a few fanatics here and there, the research shows that most beer drinkers either don't care or don't even know who's producing their beers. And they don't mind as long as they taste good. But I'm just not so convinced that people can so easily put aside who made their beer and look for beers outside of their niche, whether that happens to be clean, crisp lagers or crafty imperial stouts. In previous episodes, I've introduced you to a whole range of different beer snobs and wankers that are propagating this toxic divide, but it's not just the craft beer drinkers who are guilty of this. Take a look at this advertisement by Budweiser. Don't know about you, but it makes me thirsty for a pumpkin peach ale. The beautiful irony is that Budweiser recently bought Elysian Brewing, who actually made a pumpkin peach ale. So my suggestion? Continue drinking your favorite beers like you'd never heard the news. Stop reading reviews telling you that your beers are going downhill, and you can push your loudmouth mate into the pool. Next up is another trend in the beer world: beers marketed at video gamers. Aligning with the release of the nuclear wasteland survival game Fallout 4, video game publisher Bethesda teamed up with Carlsberg to release a Fallout-themed beer. For those of you out there who've played any of the Fallout games, this might seem like a pretty cool idea. Throughout the game, bottle caps are used as currency, and beer certainly plays its part in the game. On release, however, fans were disappointed to find out that not only did their beers just seem like regular old Carlsberg, but the labels were shoddily applied and the bottle caps plain and nondescript. The most common Amazon review for the product was a 1 out of 5, and reviewers consistently complained about the lack of effort gone into producing the Fallout beer. Brutal. Fortunately, it's not time to completely give up on video game and beer collaborations yet, with a local brewery showing the big guys how it's done with their collaboration with the Call of Duty franchise. The Black Hops Brewery, based on the Gold Coast, released a midnight pale ale with video game publisher Activision, to great reception from the public. So keep an eye out for Black Hops Brewery. Big things are coming from these guys. Remember a few years ago when low-carb beers were the in thing? Low-carb beers gained a surprising amount of traction when they were first released, with Pure Blonde coming from nowhere to grab a large percentage of the Friday afternoon office drinks market. This lasted for a few years until the fad seemed to die a natural death and everyone stopped trying to pretend that drinking beers could actually be healthy. Until now. Recently, the trend towards health-conscious beers has been rekindled in both the States and here in Australia. Starting at the beginning of 2016, new Obamacare regulations state that all fast food outlets with 20 or more premises will be required to list calories on all their menu items, including beer. This has caused concern with smaller breweries worried that the increased cost of repackaging their beers will essentially corner them out of the market, leaving only big budget breweries in stock at these chains. Research shows that people who do pay attention to calorie information tend to consume less calories. But, and here's the problem, only 8% of the American population actually use the nutritional information. Which makes you wonder, is the massive cost of implementing such a scheme worth the 8% of the population. While steps certainly need to be taken to combat the rising levels of obesity in America and Australia, mandatory calorie listings may not be the best way to approach the problem, with the unintended side effect of small breweries being pushed out of the market. Finally, let me introduce to you the most useless product of 2015, the Sonic Foamer.
One of the most important factors when drinking quality craft beers is that of smell. The aromatic qualities of a beer are best experienced when the bubbles in the head burst, releasing fragrances. As the head dissipates, the aromas dissipate as well, leading beers to taste more flat.
With a product that can make you instantly recognizable as the least tolerable variety of beer wanker in an instant. The Sonic Foamer recarbonates your beer using sonic wave technology, which is about as redundant as using nuclear fission to cook your toast, seeing as the same effect can be achieved simply by swilling your glass around. Still, it's a neat gimmick, and if you're really stuck for gift ideas, I suppose it isn't the worst gift option. That's all for Beer News. Catch you next month. Cheers.